What's up everyone, Steven here from Techmaker Studio. This is building a decentralized Twitter clone with React.js and Aleph.im, part 6. If anything seems a little bit off today, I am coming to you super jet lagged from the French countryside on super slow internet, so hopefully that doesn't slow us down much. I brought my setup over here from Miami, and let's see how it goes. But anyway, in this episode, we're going to jump in with hooking up the WebSockets from Aleph to actually pull back data in real time from the network. We're going to try to keep this as simple as possible and just kind of follow the documentation and iteratively hook this up. So let's go over to the Aleph docs, and I'm down here in the receive messages from Aleph section inside the JavaScript documentation. And basically to start, I'm just going to copy some stuff straight from here and paste it into our app and console log it and kind of see what comes out. First of all, one quick thing is Chrome has this WebSocket library built in. So if you just type WebSocket, it'll show up there. So that's why we're able to just create a new WebSocket object like that without actually importing it from anywhere. So let's go over to let's look at the posts, because most likely this is where we're going to pull this in. Let's just paste this here. So this will run, actually, you know what? Let's put it in the use effect load post here. So this will load, I hit the wrong button. So this will load or run once, as we talked about in one of the previous episodes. We have this empty array here in the use effect. So this basically runs one time when the component loads. So we'll just paste it in like that. And I need this URL. I missed it when I cut. So let's actually console.log. Let's change this up a little bit just to be sure what we're looking at here. So we'll do from socket on message, and then let's come back over here and open this up. So we have 10 posts coming in, or 10 things coming back from the socket. And you can see now we have data flowing. So when we connected to the socket, we actually didn't specify anything in particular. So right now we're getting every message back from the entire Aleph network, which is obviously not what we want. All this stuff is flowing like crazy here. So let's go look and see what that correlates to. So if we open up the Aleph Explorer, you'll see basically all of the same data eventually when this Wi-Fi loads this page. You'll see all of the same data kind of flow here, and you'll see it propagates every couple of seconds. I don't know if they're using polling or sockets or what here, but this is basically what we're seeing when we see this data flow through on this side. So we don't want all of the data from the network, basically. And I want to point out that basically this is WebSocket. This is the first version of this. This WS0, I think, is like WebSocket version 0, basically. And I don't think it works perfectly yet with some of the filtering. To show you what I mean, let's look at the content types here. So I was just kind of playing with this off screen. Basically, this content types, whenever we pass in chat here, that becomes the content type. And I believe, because it's like a parameter, like a URL parameter, this should be content types, and it should be like normally expecting an array of things here, but since it's URL formatted, it would be like our content type we want is chat, and then if you had other ones, it would be like that. So let's go with chat here. Let's save this, and let's come back and do a good refresh here. And let's look at the very first ones we get. So by default, you get back like 10 things from the socket on load, which I don't know if that will always be like that or not. But you can see here that we have content type as chat, and if we scroll down, you'll see like they continue to be chat for a while. This is Quartz. Kind of a side point here, but Ubisoft just announced their new NFT platform, Quartz, which is actually coming through here, and you can see profile TZ something. So that's on the Tezos blockchain. So they're using Tezos and Aleph for the Ubisoft NFT stuff, which is really cool. But this isn't relevant to what we're wanting. So what I think is happening is that in this first version of the sockets, that the first query runs and you get back like just the data that you want, which is just a post in our case, or the chat post. I think now, and you can see if I start scrolling, this thing takes for like there's so much data loaded because actually we're logging out just tremendous amounts of stuff from the network. So I think what we're going to have to do, and if you watch the other video I did on WebSockets with Aleph, we had to do a similar thing. I didn't know if they'd updated this or not because it was a while ago, but basically what we need to do is filter out irrelevant data that we get. Really what we want ultimately is for them to update this so we only get back more relevant data based on our query. I don't know when that's going to happen, but we don't really want to be receiving tremendous amounts of irrelevant data and having to like clean it up. But for now, that's what we need to do, so that's what we'll do. So the first thing I want to do, I guess, is kind of just get these things loading onto the screen to start. And what we want to do is actually push whenever we receive a message. We don't want to log it out. What we want to do is push it into our loaded posts. And I believe what we can do is something like this. We'll run set loaded posts, and we'll take in our previous posts or something like that, and then just create an array. And what I'm going to do is say e.data, which I don't think is quite right. Let's look at that one more time in our console over here. E.data. I'm trying to remember. There's something off with there's like a double content variable name or something. I'm just doing this based on memory. So let's look inside of post.js really quick. So we're passing in the post, and then inside of here we're calling like content is item content body. Sorry, I'm just making sure that I've got all this stuff here. So it looks like it's right. I mean, we'll find out in a second. But we have content, we have item content, item hash. Looks like we need those down here, right? So post item hash. Okay, we'll go with it and see what happens. But we're gonna append or prepend, actually, the way we're doing it here, this e.data to our previous posts. And let's comment out this console log for now, and let's come back and see what happens when we refresh. Didn't like something. Cross-origin error was thrown. React doesn't have access to the actual error object. Okay, I need to, just on kind of eyeballing it, I forgot to JSON parse. So let's try that. And if it worked, we should start to see some stuff flowing here in a second. Let me do an actual refresh. Cannot read properties of null. Okay, so you saw some stuff kind of flicker onto the screen. So item content, where would that be called on line 7 in post.js? Okay, so this is kind of what I'm thinking is like we have some stuff in here that doesn't actually have all the attributes we need. So item content dot address, item content is props post item content. Let's see here. So let's do this. Let's start by console props.log and then props.post.item content like this. And let's see what we get. So we got some stuff initially. We're getting some stuff flowing here up until the point where we hit an error. So we have a bunch of stuff typed chat. So I think all of these probably loaded from our initial query until we hit a WebSocket. That's my best guess. So let's come down here and let's undo this comment and let's see. So it breaks whenever it tries to run item content.address. This is a little bit tedious, but okay, so from socket, so we're still logging from the socket even though we have an error. So we have item content. That's interesting. So props.post item content. I'm just going to scroll down and see. There's got to be, okay, so here's one coming in from the socket. It just doesn't have an item content on it. Maybe we can solve this problem by just saying if e.data.item content like that. And let's see what this does. I need to refresh again, I suppose. This could be interesting. Okay, so we're logging stuff out. We're not actually seeing it on the screen anywhere, though. Okay. Interesting. You know what I just realized? And this goes to show you should use variables. So what I want to do here is say let post equal JSON parse e.data, because I basically failed to parse it here. So I'm calling a if something on a string, which obviously it's not going to exist. Let's go ahead and comment that out. And then here, let's just say post. So essentially, we had a problem where we didn't parse the data. All right, let's try that again. Cannot read properties null. Interesting. Okay, so I guess what we could do is say if post and you know what, that should say if post.item content. I kind of removed that accidentally. Let's try it again. Give it a good refresh. I don't know why I have to keep refreshing it. I feel like I shouldn't need to. If this works, we should see a bunch of stuff start flowing soon. Maybe. Let's do console.log post. Maybe I should spell item correctly as well. It did something for a second and then it totally freaked out. Cannot read property null of address. Property of null. This is slightly confusing. Let's just save that again and refresh one more time and see what happens here. So you see for like a split second it flashed and it was working and then it quit. Okay, I'm going to pause this for a second and do a little debugging. I don't want to drag this video out too long. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do just to try to see if I can fix this, because the problem is telling us like, okay, there's no address here on null. So I don't know why I'm getting that when I'm checking for item content here. But let's do if this, you know what it is? It's because I console logged. I'm kind of like hurting myself. This should only be one line. I think that's it. Because I added that extra line, it ignored the if, I believe. All right, let's try that again and do a refresh here. I'm going to crash my app here because I've got so many things loading to the screen potentially. Let's close that. And I'm going to kill this window. All right, let's go to localhost 3000 and see what happens here. Okay, so now you can see we've got everything kind of loading in. What's crazy is stuff's coming from 1 day ago. So I'm not sure why I'm getting events from over a day ago. And anyway, okay, so obviously we have some problems here. Let's quit console logging because that's not something we would need to do now. Let's come back up. Man, my computer is freaking out right now. So basically what we want to do is not show things if they're not of the type chat. So kind of taken a long time to get to this point, but that's what we want to do. So back in the code, so the thing is freaking out because it's just adding a bajillion things from the network over here. What we want to do is say if post.itemContent and post.itemContent.type equals chat. And again, let's console.log this post really quick here just to make sure console.log the post just to see what we're getting exactly. But let's refresh that. And now we're not getting anything, which we should have gotten some. Let me remove this really quick. One more time. We need to find that content type in the... Okay, hold on. Let's do this. Let's quit calling that. And let's look back at our console log stuff because that's basically what's happening. We're adding so many elements to the UI that it's freaking out, and we don't want to do that. Okay, so if we look at, try to find the very first ones we got because it's going to be our chat messages here. Okay, so we have content.type right here. So what I want to do is say if post.itemContent and post.content.type is chat, then let's console log here. So I'm going to save that. I'm going to refresh. And here we go. So we've got, basically I think we have one, like I'm going to guess around 10. And then all of these should now be the chat items. Okay. And if you look over here, you have 535, 42, all these messages, a bunch of ones coming through. Let's go ahead and set the loaded post here. So what did that do? Now we have a ton of ones. Let me refresh. Let me do like a real refresh here. Okay, so you can see over here on the left, we're getting this error, encountered 2 children with the same key. And that always causes React to freak out a little bit. Basically, whenever you render a list, you can see, where are we doing that? Down here. So we have this key equals post.item hash, and this is supposed to be unique, right? But now, because we're getting some messages from the response and then some of the same messages from the socket, those aren't unique right now, so it's kind of messing everything up. If we comment this out, which we won't leave it commented out, but if we comment this out and we refresh over here, we should see the same messages, but only the first 10. And that does look like the very first 10 messages from the other list, but now it's coming from the socket. So basically what we need to do is we need to only add stuff from the socket if we don't already have it on the page, because In particular, when the socket first connects and we get those 10 default items back, it's trying to add them to the page even though we already have them. So we need to filter those out. And I think I'll do that in the video, in the next video, because this one's getting to be probably about 20 minutes. So this is another video that I think kind of took a little bit too long to meander around and actually get something put together. So I apologize for that, but I think some of this didn't work quite like I expected it to, and so on. But I think we're pretty much there. So I think the last little bit we're going to need to do is just some filter. We'll write a little to do here. Filter duplicate posts. So we'll have to do that. So we'll just have to do another check, like if it isn't already in the list. And then once we have that, really what we want to do is hook up our post modal, or whatever we called it, post form modal, so that it will close whenever we submit the text, and then we should see the thing come through on the socket automatically. So we'll try to get all of that done in the next video, and at that point we will have a real-time kind of posting mechanism hooked up fully. So yeah, I hope you're enjoying this series, and I'll talk to you in the next episode.